the new economy versus the old economy, or new knowledge work versus old industrial work, or a metaphor that was
Everywhere you turn, folks are trying to find their fit. And what better time and place to talk about that than 5 o'clock on Thursday when we do the Finding Our Fit show with Susanna Calvert. And today it's going to be Allison Fisher. And because we're having phone trouble, I suspect maybe she's calling the guest to see if she's going to be able to come in via StreamYard because unfortunately, StreamYard is all we have at the moment. And there she is, Allie. Can I unmute you? There you are.
Sure thing. Yes, I am working on getting our guests into StreamYard right now.
I'm really sorry that the phones were fine. Yes, last Thursday when I sent that message, and since that time they have done something. I can pick up the phone, but I can't put it on the board.
Okay.
Well, that's what's like to work in a nonprofit. Folks, if you'd like this show to come off better, you can send us some money or some equipment. What do you think, Allie? You know anybody that's got some phone answering systems out there? Lord knows we could use them. We'd put them to good use because we'll help people find their fit. We wouldn't waste their time squabbling about failed people doing this and that and all the mysterious, unpleasant stuff going on in that imaginary Q universe and mystery voters or mystery this is and that's. There's a real world out there that we're trying to grapple with. And Allie and Susanna are the spearhead for this station out there. I keep trying to tell people, Allie, the future is here. We've just got to stop ignoring it because of all the people whose hair is on fire about absolutely ridiculous things. Oh, here she is. Well, hey, it's my opportunity to step out and leave you with your quiet, balanced conversation. Hey, Elisa. Okay, well, I'm going to back out. If you need me, just beckon me. I'll be listening in the studio. But I like to do two little boxes that are both very intelligent. I can hear myself talk anytime.
All right. Wonderful.
All right, I'm standing.
Well, thank you so much. And hello there, LA. Technical difficulties happen. There are always those tech gremlins, and I'm just so glad that we are here. So my name is Allison Fisher, and I am now a guest host for Finding Our Fit, which once a month. So I am filling in for Susanna. The purpose of Finding Our Fit is to find our place in our crazy and beautiful world. In doing so, we will enrich our world and create a brighter future for everyone and everything, especially Earth. I am also the convener for communications at the Foundation for Family and Community Healing. Our mission is also to help everyone find our fit through healthy relationships with self, others, Earth, and the loving force that connects us. You can check us out at healingedu.org. We do this program to help us make sense of our world, which is both beautiful and challenging, so that we can choose for it to feel more beautiful than challenging. Many of us tend to focus on the challenging things in our lives, forgetting that the flip side has opportunities to find and create beauty and healing. In Finding Our Fit, we focus on the flip side of our challenges, the beautiful side, where we can learn and grow and become wiser and more resilient by adopting a healthier relationship with everybody and everything. It's important to choose both yin and yang to create balance and conditions for healing, and it is a practice that we choose every single day. So I'm so excited to be here with Lisa, or L.A. Jones, and today's show is called Pathways to Prosperity. I'm just going to take a moment to introduce L.A., who is a justice advocate and an aspiring justice minister. She is a native of North Carolina, and she is a retired corrections administrator at the Federal Corrections System. Lisa spent her 30-year career in a variety of corrections positions and environments, becoming among the highest-ranking African-American women in the federal prison. Her education consists of attendance at Southern Nazarene University in Bethany, Oklahoma, where she received a bachelor's degree in family studies and gerontology, with a counseling psychology specialization, and St. Leo University, where she received a master's degree in criminal justice with a dual specialization in corrections and behavioral studies. At the height of her career, Lisa decided to take her education, experience, and understanding of systems of incarceration and reassign those talents to the area of holistic reentry programs and practices, which create systemic change for justice-involved individuals, their families, and the communities in which they live. Her passion lies at the intersection of criminal and social justice, where she works hard to bridge the two. All her work is done through a spiritually holistic lens. She's a member of various community social justice related boards. She's a poet, genealogist, and member of the William C. Friday Fellowship for Human Relations. She is also a seminarian at Meadville Lombard Theological School, making her my colleague there. So LA, it has so much wisdom to share and is so passionate and puts all of that passion to practice in incredible work. And so I will quickly, before getting to chat with her, just share the website of the organization that she'll be talking about a lot today. So if you want to check it out, it is called Hayti Reborn, and the website is Hayti, HAYTIREBORN.com. All right. Hello, LA.
Hello. How are you, Allie?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good today.
Good. Thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
And so to start, I would love to understand a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and why.
Oh, who am I? Wow. I am so many things, a lot of which was just covered in that introduction. But primarily, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience that works really hard every day to be more than I do. Some days I'm better at that than others. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm a wife and a big sister to 6. I am a co-parent to 6 others who are now adults. I don't allow myself to cry enough, and I can come off as someone who is very no nonsense. Yet I have a pretty wicked sense of humor that may border on crass from years of working in law enforcement. I'm a lover of my fellow person or my fellow man, and have a wide streak of holy rage when I see injustice. I'm a military veteran. I'm a retiree, a friend, a mentee, a Unitarian Universalist who worships at Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. And I'm a fierce advocate committed to leaving the world a better place than I found it. As far as what I do goes, I am a sometimes reluctant seminarian at Meadville Lombard Theological School. I didn't exactly go easily into the seminary, and a lot of people will be able to identify with me on that. I'm also a co-founder and executive director of a nonprofit called Hayti Reborn Justice Movement in Durham, North Carolina. And if you go on the website that you mentioned, HaytiReborn.com, there is a tag for justice movement, and if you click that, it'll take you to our page. I don't know how to answer why I do what I do, other than to say that it's as much a part of me as breathing. Despite the fact that my first career often left me feeling like a vegetarian working in a meat packing plant, I stayed because not only did I feel like I was needed, I needed to eat. And I was raised to believe that there was nothing better than a, quote, good government job, end quote. At 53, I was fortunate enough to be able to retire. And when I walked out the door, I swore that I'd never work another job that did not represent who I wanted to be seen as. I struggled those first 2 years because suddenly I didn't feel purpose. And it was in direct contrast to how I'd felt 3 years earlier when I turned 50. When I turned 50, I finally felt like my skin fit. I slid into it like a warm blanket. 50 was a great year for me. And during those 2 years of struggle, though, I began feeling as though I was swimming around inside my shell and was being pulled in a strange new direction that I didn't really understand. I experienced a dark night of the soul, and I was depressed and unhinged, as though I was spinning in some void of nothingness. For one of the first times in my life, I couldn't see my way out of the darkness. And that was really saying a lot for someone who grew up in poverty and abuse as I did. I always had hope, and I was really in a bad spot. So I prayed, I meditated, I saw a therapist, I saw a spiritual director, I spoke to my ministers, and I even promised Spirit that I would do whatever was shown to me to do in order to get out of the place I was in. Then one day I was walking. I was doing a walking meditation, and I heard the voice of inner knowing, as I call it, say, "You're going to seminary." And I literally stopped on the sidewalk and said, "Pick something else." So I was not ready to hear that. I fought that call for about a year because that's what I do. And then when I could see no other way around it, I applied to seminary. But I applied as a Master's of Arts in Leadership student. As I sat in Chicago that first week, we had a speaker, Reverend Tracy Blackman. And she spoke of Abram or Abraham, depending on the version of the Bible you want to use, and how he saw himself as the least of God's servants because he always had doubts. And how surprised he was to find out that God saw him as the most of his servants, as the greatest of his servants, because even though he had doubts, he chose to move forward anyway. Now, I'll be honest, the message almost lost me because it was Old Testament, and I struggled a little bit with that for me. And then, but it hit me like a ton of bricks when she said that. I knew that it was a message for me. And afterwards, I walked up to her. She immediately embraced me, and in my ear, she said, "Just say yes. Say emphatically yes. Say yes and watch the magic happen." And I changed my degree plan to a MDiv the next day. And about a week later, I was approached by a local political candidate who asked me to share my thoughts on how to stop gun violence in the community. And I explained that I don't believe that gun violence is a problem, but a symptom of the problems that we have in our community, that if people are whole, they don't commit violence. So the more I talked to the candidate, the more I realized that I had a responsibility because of what I call a burden of knowledge. I innately believe that if something is shown to me, I ethically have no choice but to address it. It feels disrespectful to Spirit, to me, not to act upon that which I'm shown. It's like an example of refusing to graciously accept a gift. So that's the long version of the question you asked.
Thank you, LA.
Sure.
It is always wonderful to hear about your knowledge of self and the purpose that you carry with everything that you do, and how you have that inner knowing that leads you. And so with that, I'm curious to learn a little bit more specifically about Haiti and Haiti Reborn Justice Movement and the work that you're doing in that sphere.
Well, the name Haiti refers to Durham's historically Black community that is renowned for, it had a history of robust Black entrepreneurialism in the century following slavery. At various times during that period, Durham was known as the capital of the Black middle class, as well as the city on the hill for Blacks. And Black Wall Street, it was also known as Black Wall Street, a location of the most African American millionaires per capita in the United States. And it was home to hundreds of Black businesses, including the largest Black-owned business in the world. At 165 years, Durham's Haiti, named for the island nation of Haiti. It was named for Haiti, which is the only country in the world ever created by a successful Black revolt. And today, it was the longest lasting and surviving of Black Wall Streets in American history. For 100 years, Haiti and Black Wall Street survived the odds and went unmolested, but then the unforgiving practice of Jim Crow policy and practice, it sought to redistribute the previously Black segregated dollar. And so while the Black community was still largely unwelcome in white establishments during that time, their money was needed. And so that's one of the reasons why it was such a successful place. So the growth in the white community was bolstered by social integration, and the growth of Black community was thwarted by non-reciprocation. You can't take your money and put it in that area and then not have that money come back. Otherwise, the wealth is not sustainable.
Yeah.
And so Haiti plummeted. And we had a highway come right through the city, which happened not only in Durham, but in a lot of Black cities all across the country. So.
Just a reminder for listeners that you're listening to Finding Our Fit on WRWK 93.9 FM. My name is Allison Fisher, and I'm here with L.A. Jones for a show called Pathways to Prosperity. Thank you so much for that history about Haiti and the name of the organization, which is just so important to remember and to both celebrate the existence of such a strong Black community, and then also, of course, mourn the legacy of Jim Crow and the impact that continues on to this day, and holding both the joy and pain associated with all of that. So thank you. I'd love to know, how do you personally define justice?
Well, one of the things, Allie, if I may, that I didn't really cover was the justice movement itself for Haiti Reborn. We have a mission of organizing, leading, and growing a coalition of community participants, social justice, and criminal justice partnerships all together. Our vision is to offset the community impact of mass incarceration and systemic racism, while bridging the gap between law enforcement and the community. Haiti Reborn, it's not a program, it's a movement within the city and county of Durham. And instead of addressing community problems through either law enforcement or through community involvement, we're creating a coalition of social and criminal justice organizations that work together, along with community members who are eager to partner with each other and interrupt the cycle of violence and increase health, and prosperity within the community. That is what the justice movement is all about. I think you asked me how I define justice, correct? To me, justice is a demonstration or application of a belief in the worth and dignity of every human being. True justice is fair, even when it's not easy, and it does no intentional harm. That's the way that I personally define justice.
Yeah, thank you for that. That is powerful. And the inherent worth and dignity of every person rings some bells with the Unitarian Universalist principles. And so it is kind of incredible that it sounds like you had that belief and then stumbled into the existence of Unitarian Universalism.
I did. It was the strangest thing because I didn't know anything about Unitarian Universalism. And when I went and then I saw the principles, it was like, oh my goodness, what I believe is a thing. It was, I had no idea it was a thing. It was just, it was just my own spiritual beliefs.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So in the justice realm, we talk about social justice and criminal justice and various forms of justice. How do you build that bridge, as you said, between social justice and criminal justice?
I've had individuals ask me, okay, LA, if you have to choose, because you do all this work in social justice, but yet you were a part of criminal justice for all these years, which? My answer is both and. It doesn't have to be either or. To believe that it has to be either or is a false choice. It's just like when I was asked, okay, do you support Black Lives Matter or Blue Lives Matter? Both. I can believe that Black Lives Matter and support what that means. And at the same time, I can support law-abiding, ethical police that do their job and cause no intentional harm to those who are not attempting to harm them. Or so I don't believe that it has to be either or. It's both and.
Yeah. From my experience of you, you've never been someone to just dive into the polarity that exists or the groupthink that exists within that. And so I admire that about you. How do you use your former experience in the prison system, in the work that you do? I just imagine the insight of how things really are must be really powerful and I imagine motivating.
Yeah. Justice is all the things that I mentioned before, but it's also complex and multifaceted. For example, I was talking to a male offender one day, and it surprised him to realize that he agreed with a lot of what I was saying to him. And he said, Ms. Jones, you're really smart and put together about problems in the community. What on earth are you doing here working for these enslavers? And that was the way that he looked at it. And I simply responded by saying, if I weren't here, who would you be talking to right now? And who would care whether or not you were safe? That is, I think that's important. And I think it's important to realize that things are very seldom ever just black and white, which is one of the reasons why I don't have a problem avoiding the whole polarization of people telling me that I have to choose sides. I used to always say I have my own mind and I'm not afraid to use it. And I think that is why I say that it can be both social and criminal justice. That's why Hayti Reborn Justice Movement doesn't choose sides. It's going to take all of us together. And it's important that someone stands up and says not all Black people are criminals and that not all police officers are corrupt.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, the language used often in that sphere is so, there's just so many blanket statements that are made. And it sounds like part of your work is to kind of debunk those things that are really just causing more harm and division, and trying to work to get people to work together. What does that look like in action with Hayti? What are some of maybe the wins or challenges that you're experiencing currently?
Well, some of the wins are whenever I'm sitting at a table and I have gang members and the police sitting at the same table having a conversation. Boy, that's a win. That's a win every single time, because they're listening to each other, because that is absolutely a mandate for sitting at that table, is that you have to be willing to open your mind and listen, and no one is forced to be there. So that's definitely a win. Some of the challenges are when it would be easier to just agree with the particular group that I happen to be sitting there talking to at the time. There comes a time whenever people are enjoying me, they're enjoying the conversation, I'm saying what they want to hear, but then they'll make a statement that I disagree with, and I have to sit there and determine whether or not I'm going to go along with that, or whether or not I'm going to stand up and go, no, that is not in line with what I believe. So those are the times when it can be a little bit challenging.
Absolutely. I can imagine that would be, I mean, it's the facts that people remember are always the ones that they heard the most recently.
That's right.
And so to go to such vastly different spaces and to stay true to yourself and your own experiences, while also holding the stories and experiences of other people who you're talking to, that is hard, and it's a gift to be able to do that. In my own experience, when I was at James Madison University for undergraduate, I had the opportunity to hold a dialogue between police officers and Sudanese refugees in the area, since Harrisonburg, Virginia is a sanctuary city. And it was so powerful because many of the Sudanese refugees didn't necessarily have a whole lot of awareness about the stigma towards people of color, especially in situations if they're being pulled over and it's a woman who might be fully covered, because a lot of Sudanese folks are Muslim, and then she might be nervous, and that might alert a police officer, oh no, I'm dealing with somebody who's nervous. Why are they nervous? And so it just led to a lot of misunderstandings. And by the end of the dialogue that we held, we had about 40 different Sudanese refugees and 7 or 8 police officers. And by the end, they were talking about having a soccer team together and joining the league.
Love it.
And so, just the power of gathering people in the same room and humanizing.
Yes.
So in your work, with all of the different sides that you are hearing constantly, and the frustrations and the sadness and the impact in the community, how do you find hope?
Hope. I turn within. And I talk to those in the community who have not lost hope, whether it be from, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle, if you will. Those that haven't lost hope, I spend time talking to them, as well as I said, I turn within. That's where I get the vast majority of my strength and my hope from.
Yeah, absolutely. A reminder that you are listening to Finding Our Fit on WRWK. 93.9 FM. I am Allison Fisher here with LA Jones, talking about pathways to prosperity and the bridge between social and criminal justice. So I'm curious to know, you have this process of turning within to find hope. What does that process look like for you? And then how does having that hope impact the lives of the people that you interact with? I know that when I interact with somebody who seems to have this hope and peace about them, it can be a really powerful thing that makes me feel more hopeful and more peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the act of turning within can be something as simple as maybe I've had a long day at work. I had a difficult meeting, and when I drive home, I don't listen to the radio. I turn everything off and I just ride. I may get home and sit in the car for a while and just have silence. The way that I turn within, usually it has to do with silence. And when that doesn't get me where I need to be, I write. And that is another way of free writing allows me to find my hope, because I found that when I'm writing and I just spill everything out on the paper, that what's left after I get all the minutia out of the way is hope.
Yeah.
So, and as far as that impacting the lives of others, I feel like that the more I have, the more I have to offer. In seminary, I've been taught that I should strive to feed others from the saucer that holds my cup while keeping my cup full, right? So if I run out of motivation and hope then that I have, then I don't have any to give to anyone else. So that's the way that I feel like that impacts the lives of others. The more I can keep my cup full, the more I have to offer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of success stories or just really powerful connections that you've had in this social justice work that where you could share an anecdote?
Oh, let's see. Well, one of the things that had the most recent things that have been really powerful for me is that as a part of the success model, I hire individuals that are out in the community. And I have 3 individuals that are working here. One is an ex drug kingpin. The has done federal time. Another is an ex gang member who has done federal time. And then lastly, there is one that has now been clean and sober for about a year. And we were having an onboarding conversation, and I was asking if there were any questions. And one of them said, yes, I actually have a lot of questions because I've never had benefits or health insurance before. I've always had Medicare for myself and my children. And also, and even then they were like, wow, do you know how much childcare costs? And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty pricey. They were like, yeah, I didn't even know that because I've always had a childcare voucher, but now I make too much money to do that. And one of the things that is really important as it relates to those individuals is that we ensure that they make a living wage. This is not about making just enough money to get by. By living that way, doing that, you cannot impact the economic wealth gap. You've got to, we work on intentionally attempting to shrink the wealth gap. And that can only happen by giving people the ability to live in prosperity. Another thing is you'll hear a lot of people talk about affordable housing. Well, instead of affordable housing, what if we worked and made it where individuals could actually afford to live on the economy as it is?
Yeah.
Instead of bringing the housing down, how about we bring their salaries up? You know, and also another definitely successful moment has been when you're out here and you're in the community and somebody gets it, and it's a aha moment when they go, wait a minute, so what you guys are doing is actually taking all of the programs, bringing them together under one umbrella and creating a system.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 and yes. So those are very satisfying moments.
I
For me.
bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone who sees suddenly how there's this connection between race and wealth and the need
Yes.
for holistic
Yes.
services. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a beautiful moment to have, to feel like the work is paying off.
Right. That's right.
Absolutely. So I know that as you are focused on these holistic re-entry programs, a lot of that is maybe catalyzed by the impact on entire families and communities through just one person being incarcerated. Could you talk a little bit about that impact and what you've seen?
Yeah. Um, a lot of times when people do things out in the community, um, they really may have good intentions, but they're doing it for the wrong thing. They're doing it for the wrong reason. Let me correct the word thing. They're doing it for the wrong reason. For example, they want to be the one to take care of and provide for their family, but they don't have skills. They've made some poor decisions in their life. They're dealing with addiction or mental health. All of any of these particular situations can put them in a bad light. And then they get locked up and their family is left out here to fend for themselves, or to even have to send them money while they are incarcerated. So these individuals, they get out and they feel like right away, I need to do something to start taking care of my family again, and I need to do something to pay them back for what I took away from them while I was gone. But yet, not only have they been out of the community for a long period of time, but they also often still don't have skills. And another thing is that when they come back to the community, they're often, they absolutely have no idea where to even begin. Because one of the guys that works here, he was incarcerated for 7 years. He came back out and he said, LA, every single job application said to apply online. I had no idea how to apply for a job online. And then there were individuals saying that they could help with that, but there were so many, I had no idea which ones were legitimate and which ones were not. So these are some problems that these individuals have to deal with, based upon their time of being away, their desire to help their family and their neighborhoods. And then eventually they will get frustrated to the point that they're willing to go back out and do whatever they know, which is the same thing that often got them in trouble in the first place. And I'm not saying, I want to be clear, the justice movement, we do not believe, we're not people that say that no one should go to jail, no one should go to prison. Sometimes the only option that you will find that someone either ends up in prison or dead. Okay. We don't want to lose anyone. All right. So but when they go to prison and when they come back out, they've paid their debt to society. They should be able to come back into society and now live a full and meaningful life, not continue to pay for what happened for the remainder of their lives. And you have to consider, who would you rather have as your neighbor? You know, someone who is trying to live a better life and support their family and take care of themselves, or someone who has given up on life and is willing to do whatever they have to do to make a dollar. So I may have gotten lost in there somewhere. If I did not answer your question, please restate it for me.
No. Thank you for that. It just the ricochet of impact from one person who is imprisoned and then coming out and not having the proper resources to get by, and the pressure that they feel. It just sounds so overwhelming. And it is beautiful that you and the rest of the team at Haiti Reborn Justice Movement are working so hard to make sure that there are supports in place so that our neighbors who have come out from prison are able to integrate and to live whole lives without the impact of the mistakes made haunting them for the rest of their lives. So thank you.
Of course.
I want to remind our listeners that this is Finding Our Fit on WRWK 93.9 FM. I am here with L.A. Jones talking about pathways to prosperity. And if you are live streaming us on Facebook, we'd love to hear any comments or questions for L.A. here. So on that note, L.A., how do people get involved in this kind of work, knowing that not everybody is called to be a justice minister, but that there may be folks who want to do a little something? How can that be possible?
Well, how do you help? I made a comment to a funder once as we were sitting at the table, and I said, I never had to beg for one single dollar to lock someone up. Not one. But since I have started working to try and keep individuals from returning to prison, it seems as though I've done nothing but beg for money. So, of course, finances are always important. Another thing is for those who do not have the financial wherewithal to help in that way, we have a lot of allies out there. And even better than that, the only thing that I love, and we talked about this before, more than an ally is a co-conspirator. And allies, they are in the room to support you when you're experiencing oppression, when you're struggling. But a co-conspirator doesn't need for you to be in the room with them in order for them to do that. They'll look around a room full of people that look just like them, and ask the person in charge, where are the representatives of other groups? Where are the representatives of other demographics? They'll call racism, sexism, or any other ism out. And even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, when there's no camera present, when there's not another person of that group that is there with them. And I'm going to tell you, there is no safe space for a racist when they are in the room. So, I love a co-conspirator. So.
Absolutely. And so have you seen Haiti grow as an organization? You mentioned those folks who have an aha moment about the importance of holistic services. What have you noticed in the kind of trajectory since you started your involvement to today?
Yeah, Hayti Reborn Justice Movement, as I mentioned, is an umbrella organization that brings in smaller community-based organizations under it so that they don't operate in a silo. We're building those bridges from one organization to another so that we can end some of the duplication of services and maybe tease out ways in which they provide help for the community that does not duplicate something that someone else is doing, but it might fill a void that is out here. So since we've began, we actually have, Durham has over 400 community-based nonprofits. As of this moment, the justice movement has over 100 of those community-based organizations who have committed to work under the justice movement. Basically, what they're saying when they commit is that we recognize that doing the same thing the same old way does not help us. It doesn't work. And it's time for us to do something different. And so they're saying that they're willing to do that and they're ready to step out and try doing things a different way instead of the same old way. And I'm happy to say that that includes our city and county officials that are doing the same thing, judges, police officers, nonprofit organizers. Yeah, so that's a fantastic thing for us.
Absolutely, it is. So I am not in Durham, North Carolina, and say I wanted to get involved and do something volunteer related or maybe give my dollar. What would you suggest for folks who may not be in the Durham area, but who are looking to do something to support this?
Yeah, I would say to email me at lajones@haytireborn.com. If you email me there and let me know how you feel as though that you may be able to help, to include us going and giving a presentation, even if it's over Zoom, to another organization that you feel like that we might work well with, that would be fantastic as well. And that is lajones@haytireborn.com.
Wonderful. Okay, so it sounds like understanding the landscape within your own community and the nonprofits that are there, and maybe jumping in and supporting one that's already doing the work that has that background knowledge. Is that kind of the best way to plug in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That helps a lot. And there's room for the beautiful thing about our organization is that there's room for everyone at the table. We are all sitting at the table figuring out how we help each other and work together, which therefore helps the community. So, and we have partners that are not here in Durham.
Mm-hmm.
They may provide some type of service. We had someone contact us and say, I'm not in the area, however, I can do marketing material for you guys and send it to you in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
I have this, I know about this organization that is doing this particular, that has this strategy, this community strategy, and I'd love to connect you guys so that you can sit down on Zoom and talk to them and they can give you some insight. I have found a long time ago that one of the best things, the leader in the room isn't always the person with the most knowledge. The leader in the room is very good at human relations. and they are smart enough to surround themselves with subject matter experts and then give them the resources they need to get the job done and get out of the way. So that is, there's room for everyone.
Yeah, it's so cool to hear that Haiti Reborn Justice Movement has been connecting with organizations doing similar work in other areas. So is that kind of a component of what y'all do, seeing what other places are doing and or operating as a model for other communities?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. It's sustainability. And that's what really matters. Not if you're just here today, but will you be here 10 years from now? Will you be able to do this long enough to make systemic change? I was very honest about the fact that I was not coming out of retirement for anything less than something with the potential to create systemic change. And we have to be willing to do the work that it's going to take over the long haul. And a lot of that includes checking our ego at the door. This isn't about me. This isn't about you or this organization or that organization. We're only as strong as what we can do together. And that can only happen with us growing partnerships and being willing to say, hey, can I help you or can you help me? Because we can't do this by ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Checking egos at the door. It's a pretty hard thing for humans.
It all depends on what your focus is.
Yeah.
That's all. So we just have to, I am known to tell my staff, this isn't about you. And it's not about me. It's about the people out there.
So as we begin to reach the end of our hour together here, is there anything else that you feel moved to share related to the work that you're doing, how people might be able to support you, or anything else? What you ate for breakfast?
You know what? Yogurt. But I think that what I feel led to share is do something. Every single one of us can do something. If we do nothing more than our part, if we do nothing more than our part, that's enough. And how do you know what that part is? That part is that which drives you, which calls you, which pulls at you, which nags at the back of your neck. That's your part. When you're looking at individuals like Gandhi, Mandela, Martin Luther King, these individuals are individuals that did what they felt called to do, what pulled at them. If it ends up changing the world, it ends up changing the world. But guess what? That's never why you do it. You do it because you really can't imagine in your spirit doing anything else.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Last week on this show, we talked about purpose and that inner knowing as you're talking about it. And we encourage people to, after the show, just sit for 10 minutes and reflect, write about something that moves them, something that feels right in there, right in their heart that they feel like they need to do. And just 10 minutes. And it's amazing what can come from intentional reflection for just a small period of time. And it sounds like, you do it every day. No radio in the car. I can't even imagine.
Well, you know what? And if it doesn't come immediately, set the intention that it will come and then let it go. It'll show itself. Let it go. And it's not always easy, but it's that thing that won't leave you alone. It's that thing that keeps coming back to you over and over and over again.
Mm.
And as long as whatever that is does no harm,
Mm.
go with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it might be, I was at a parade this past weekend, and there was a little boy that was walking down the parade route, just giving random people hugs. There was something in him that called him to do that, you know, and who knows? He really could have changed a life that day.
Absolutely.
Someone may have just needed contact. So
I was recently a recipient of a random compliment. There were these two high school girls running around in a park just complimenting people. And
that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love that. And the way that it makes you feel.
Mm-hmm.
What did they say? You never forget how people make you feel. So
it's true. Well, LA, thank you so much for your time, sharing your wisdom, experiences, the work that you feel called to do. It is beautiful to watch you in action, whether it's being in class with you and you getting an important call from the mayor at that very moment and having to leave, broker some sort of ceasefire within your community. The work that you do is powerful and directly impactful. And it has been such a joy to get this time with you to share more about it with the world. So if folks are interested, again, in exploring more about this topic, you can go to HeyTaiReborn.com. And you can also email LA to learn more. Could you remind folks of your email address?
Yes, it's LAJones@HeyTaiReborn.com. That is HayTaiReborn. HeyTaiReborn.com.
And this show is called Finding Our Fit. We are on air every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. on 93.9 WRWK FM, and also streamed on YouTube and Facebook and the WRWK website. So we hope you'll tune in again. And a reminder that my name is Allison Fisher. I am a guest host for Susanna Calvert once a month. And I am so excited to be back next month. And I work at the Foundation for Family and Community Healing. We'd love for you to continue learning with us. You can check out our website at www.healingedu.org, where we have online educational modules on a whole variety of topics that pertain to healthy relationships. Our flagship module is called Relationship Wellbeing. And then we also have modules on topics such as race through storytelling. We have Consciously Creating Wellness, ones related to earth care, such as implementing zero waste strategies, and a new one called Hearing for Healing, which I think we could all benefit from listening more and better.
Yes.
So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you back next week. Thanks again, LA, for joining us.
It was my absolute pleasure.
Mine too.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Rod.
You know, I'm never at a loss for words. Sense maybe, but words, no. Always got words. And you all deserve the best of them. Anyway, we'll move back to the loop. Thanks a lot. Wave goodbye to your fans out there in Radio Land, YouTube Land.